The chokehold death of a New York man is ruled a homicide. Why do NYPD officers continue to use this banned tactic? That's the discussion today on DC Breakdown. I'm Angela Ray. Let's get started.
Breaking through the rhetoric, breaking down the issues. From the nation's capital, this is DC Breakdown.
The chokehold tactic is banned by hundreds of police departments across the country, including the NYPD. The death of Eric Garner, seen here being taken down by police in this cell phone video, has been ruled a homicide and a direct result of an NYPD police officer's chokehold. Retired Chief Deputy U.S. Marshal Matthew Fogg is an expert on police tactics. He's joining us via Skype from Las Vegas, Nevada. Sir, good to have you joining us now. I know this topic is right up your alley, and what is annoying the heck out of me is all these other law enforcement people are going on these websites saying, you know, his weight, his health condition, you know, that's why this happened. This is before the ME's report came out. Well, no, it's not. This happened because you people put him in a chokehold, and that is what the ME's report has borne.
That's correct. And that chokehold is considered illegal in New York City since 1993. It is something but officers, one of the reasons why that chokehold is illegal is because in the heat of passion, a lot of times you're not realizing how much pressure you might be exerting, more or less. But the bottom line is there's a lot of room in there to hurt someone, especially if that person is not an imminent threat or imminent danger to you or the public.
Right, and from everything we have read and understand, Mr. Garner was selling illegal cigarettes, but was not, you know, he was not being overly assertive or overly aggressive. And you know, at the end of the day, I'm getting back to these websites. I don't care about his health. I don't care about this or that. He was in an illegal chokehold. The method should not be used. Furthermore, Matthew,
right,
over the past month, this is not the first incident that the NYPD has had to deal with. They've had 3 just within the last month.
That's right. That's correct. And again, and those are the ones that we see on video, or there's someone reports it. There are probably many others that are not reported. I know I work with NYPD on task force drug and gun operations, and oftentimes I would, you know, when you got a large force like that out there, a lot of times you're going to have officers in there that are probably shouldn't be there.
Right.
And again, when you start talking about straight up doing something that you know is illegal, it's wrong, and there's a reason for it being wrong, and it was put into the policy, was put into procedure not to use it, and the guy just clearly used it and ultimately killed this man.
But here's what I want everyone to know. A study by the Civilian Complaint Review Board in New York City, they are studying 1,000 complaints they've received in recent years about police chokeholds. So why is it the NYPD doesn't understand it is sending its recruits out there with the okay to use the chokehold, because so many of them are using it, so they've been trained as to how to use it? I'm confused.
Well, again, that's the reason why it was outlawed, because you really cannot, in the heat of passion, you can't determine a lot of times how much force you may be using. You could be. And so once you start an action, it's just like pulling your weapon out and firing around. They say, well, can they shoot him in the leg or the arm? No. Once you fire that weapon, it's deadly force. Same way with that chokehold. That chokehold is considered deadly force. And once you apply that pressure, and if everybody else is pulling on the man at the same time, what we saw is a frenzy going on. And certainly if the man is put in handcuffs, his movement is being restricted, his chest is being restricted. So with all of that happening, the guy was actually saying, I cannot breathe.
Right.
I can't breathe. At that moment, there should have been an immediate stop. It should have been to get him resuscitated. That's the other problem that I have with this whole incident. After the man was placed unconscious, no one made any attempt to resuscitate the man. It's just like he was an animal.
Yeah, that's right. And those people, the EMT, and paramedics, they have been, I don't know if they've been suspended or disciplined, but word was it that they were in awe of the police force that was out there at the time and basically took their cues from the policing that, well, the police mistreated him, so as you said, he's nothing but an animal, and they barely checked his pulse. What? Seriously?
Wow. Yeah, and that's what really got to me, because we, in our police training, we were trained extensively with resuscitation, with all types of information on what to do, CPR, how to administer it. So there wasn't any attempt, even if the paramedics weren't there, the police officers should immediately start a resuscitation. Again, when I saw the way that the whole operation went down and the way they treated the man after choking him out, it didn't go along with, to me, what policies and good policing and policies and procedures are. Again, the man sort of resisted when he put his hands back and said, "Don't touch me." I don't know if the officers were walking up to actually arrest him or just to talk to him, but the bottom line was when the officer jumped around behind him, put that chokehold on him immediately. I mean, everybody saw it on the video. Again, these are the ones that we actually get
That's right.
in videotapes and get on the screen. I know there's a law or there's a procedure out there that the public is trying to put together to say that all officers should now have these body cameras on them, these little small cameras or cameras where whenever they're going to make an arrest or anything like that, it can video. Because the public would be, quite frankly, would be shocked at some of the stuff that goes on out there in the law enforcement world that you never see.
Well, and Bill Bratton, the NYPD commissioner, is saying he's going to retrain his entire staff. Well, I'm sorry, I just don't have a whole lot of faith in all that. And here's the hitch in the giddy up. This goes back to something you were talking about. The initial police report had no mention of the chokehold, and it downplayed the seriousness of his condition. So that tells me that without the video, this would have just been another black man who died after being arrested. We would not have known without the video what the real deal Holyfield was. Well, now we got to see.
Well, let me give you some breaking news. I'm here in Las Vegas with Blacks in Government. We've just had our annual training conference, and we just passed a resolution. I authored the resolution on, we're asking for a federal probe for criminal, civil, and human rights violations into that very incident of Gardner being killed in New York City. So that's breaking news.
That's fantastic.
Here, that the resolution was adopted.
That is fantastic.
It was adopted.
Good.
The president will be getting from Blacks in Government. The United States Attorney General Eric Holder will be getting a letter from Blacks in Government indicating that we feel there should have been a federal probe into that incident.
And I do know, and I am so excited that A, you authored it, and B, that you guys have said, yes, this is something we're going to push, because the Justice Department, as you and I both know, Eric Holder, he's keeping an eye on this case. But if local prosecutors don't do the right thing, speaking of the movie that put a brother in a chokehold, if they don't do the right thing, you're going to have to deal with federal issues now.
Right. Well, we're asking for it anyway. We're saying take over the investigation. Let the feds come in and take it over. Because, again, sometimes it's very difficult for state and municipalities to investigate themselves.
Yeah,
so that's why we're asking for the federal. Once you see exactly the man put the chokehold on him, it wasn't no doubt about it. Now in New York, I think the examiner has ruled that the chokehold is what killed the individual. Yes. I think there's no doubt in our mind that this needs to be a federal probe.
Sir, can you explain to us, how do you actually work a chokehold?
Well, you grab him around the neck, you put your arms, and then you bring your other hand up, and you pull it so that you lock it in, and you lock in the hold. And with that other hand holding it, and in a case like this where the man's hands are being restrained by other police officers, his body movement, all he can do is just lay there and literally be strangled to death. He can't do anything. He can't bring his arms up to stop it. He can't do anything. And that's what really happened there. He just was literally strangled to death. And as he was saying, "I cannot breathe," the officer at that moment should have stopped, should have arrested. But again, in the heat of passion, a lot of times you make moves and you do things. It's just like when some people say, why do officers shoot somebody 39 or 40 times? Normally one round is cranked off and you're standing next to the officers. In your mind, you think you're being shot at, and so you just automatically, it takes maybe about a couple of seconds to empty a weapon of maybe 10 to 12 rounds. So if everybody's firing at the same time, you're going to get that many rounds fired off, and people think that's excessive. Well, again, that's the heat of passion. It's what happens if you think that somebody is threatening you. In this case, we can't understand how could this man been that much of a threat if all the officers in there, they're restraining him, he's on the ground, and then he's saying, I cannot breathe. That's the key right there.
Well,
he's saying, I cannot,
breathe. Exactly. The officer's name is Daniel Pantaleo. He has no badge, he has no gun, but he is still working. And I am waiting to see, because the ME's report came out, you know, last week, this weekend, can't remember which one, but you know what? I'm waiting to see, because the ME's report calls this homicide. So to me, you need to get your IAB rep, because this guy should be in a whole lot of trouble. And by the way, this same guy has had, I think, a couple of civil rights cases brought against him. Yeah. And, you know, which does not surprise me. But what does surprise me, though, is that, as I said, like, there are a couple of other instances that just happened over the same, like, within the last couple of weeks, and it's still people on NYPD using chokeholds. One woman was grilling in front of her yard, put her in a chokehold. I mean, it just seems like it is an excessive force tactic that is okay by the NYPD. And oh, by the way, Mr. Liberal, the governor, the mayor out there in New York City as well, who I'm not impressed with him. I mean, he needs to be doing something about his police officers. He thinks Bill Bratton's all that, and the two of you need to do something, because you got a problem on your hands.
Well, I think what they should do is they should do a civilian sort of survey and ask people to come forward if you've ever been put in a chokehold in New York City. I think that's what they should do, and find out how many people, because I'm pretty much assured that you're going to find a lot of people have gone through that scenario and have been in that situation. And not just in New York City, all around the country.
That's right.
I mean, I'm sure LA, Las Vegas. These are policing tactics that I've been, you know, against for a long time, having been out there, having actually seen officers operate. I've seen a lot of tactics that brought in questionable circumstances. The issue comes down to, are these tactics being utilized more on people of color,
right,
you know, black and brown folks? I have observed, and I would say yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, why? Why, even with the use of tasers, or when you shoot someone?
Right.
Again, you know, why are these sort of deadly force tactics being used on individuals sometime when the actual arrest or the suspicion of the arrest did not require for deadly force?
Retired Chief Deputy U.S. Marshal Matthew Fogg, thank you so much for joining us from Las Vegas. Thank you for what you have done while you're out there to make sure that the Eric Garner situation continues to get a look federally if the state folks don't do the right thing. You take good care, and we'll see you soon.
All right, thank you.
We talk with one of the attending physicians of a baby once believed to be cured of HIV/AIDS. That's after a break.